Hey everybody, it's Brooke with The Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today is day 9. Yes, and well, Willie is doing good. He doubled in size, but we're going to talk about his fate tonight. And Waylon is perfect. So we're going to take a look and then we'll discard and feed as normal. So I'm going to take the lids off and we're going to take a look at them. And first, let's talk about Willie a little bit. See, he has doubled in size and he still looks the same. He's nice and stretchy, just like he was last night. So he's just fine. So that just goes to show you right there that even if you screw things up like I did, it'll be fine. Now, full disclosure, Willie is going in the trash tonight because of the possibility of glass remnants in him. We're not going to take any chances on ingesting that. So since this will be obviously our final night, because look at Waylon. Waylon looks just like Willie did last night. He is fresh and fermented. He has a pleasant smell, good stretching going on, really thick. See how he just moves? And something that I saw today, if you stick your spoon in, and you guys won't be able to hear it, let me put my microphone down, but it should have a sound when you stick your spoon in. It's almost kind of like crispy. Listen. Yeah, you can't hear it. I need one of those ASMR mics, I guess. But he is nice and fermented. Now, I'm not going to discard Willie because, like I said, I'm going to clean my jar out and put him in the trash because we busted his jar last night and there is a possibility that there are glass remnants in him. So we're not going to take a chance. And we're just going to invest all of our energy until next Tuesday into Waylon until we hit that 14-day mark, and then we'll bake with him. So let's discard Waylon really quickly. And yes, even though he's fully fermented, he is not quite ready to use. So we're going to pour out half, just like we've done every night, and then feed him. Get that in there. Scrape off my lid and wipe him off just a little bit. Set him to the side. And I hope you guys have been with us for the full 9 days because this has been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We've talked about a lot. And even if you haven't started your own sourdough starter yet, I hope that these last 9 lives have shown that if I can do this, you can too. And that you might try your hand at it. And this is something that we'll be talking about all along. And we hope that you will eventually send us a picture of your starter that maybe this inspired you to get started as well. All right, so now I'm going to turn my water on. Tepid water, not hot, not cold. And get it ready. Because we're going to do Tanner's trick again tonight. We're going to water the starter first. And now I know somebody's probably going to ask this, but at this point, once we are like at a 9 or a 10-day ferment like this, I'm sure somebody will wonder, well, can I give this discard away? And yes, you probably could, and it would be fine to give away to have somebody start their own starter. However, you would probably want to tell them to discard and to feed and discard from it for about the next 5 days, just to ensure that you build up the strength of the starter. So that's, at this point, we're going to just be building strength. So we're going to put a splash of water in, and I'm going to scrape down that side where I poured him out. And we're just going to put enough, we just put a splash of water in just to dilute things and get it kind of watery. And I probably didn't even put but just a couple of tablespoons of water. But you see the consistency that you're looking for is just that, of just kind of soupy. And then we're just going to add enough flour in there to take up that space from the water. and get it back to that cake batter or thick pancake batter consistency. Making sure we don't have any dry spots on the sides or on the bottom. And then we'll use our spoon to just kind of test and make sure that we don't need to add any more flour. And we're good and gloppy. He just kind of drips off into a kind of a thick consistency. So now at this point, I'm gonna feed him for a couple of more days and just make sure that my sides stay relatively clean. And then after probably, let's see, today's Wednesday, probably Friday night when I feed him, I'll probably change the jar again just to keep his environment healthy and clean. And you can simply at that point, you can take this and just pour your discard into a clean jar and then trash the rest in the trash. Let me leave the lid off for a second. So a couple of things we're going to talk about is just more of that care and maintenance of him for the next little bit. We will continue to discard and feed until day 14. And then after that, we should be able to cook with him. Now, a couple of things at this point you're going to want to look for is fuzzy mold, and that can either be on the sides of the jar or on the surface of the starter. If you see that, that's the beginnings of something going on. So that's just little fuzzy spores. You'll know them. They look kind of gray or kind of yellow, and that may mean that your starter has a problem. The other thing is if you have any pink on the sides, on the surface, or within the starter itself, anything that looks kind of like that light pale pink, that algae pink looking color, that's also mold, and you'll need to quickly discard of it and start over. But we've just shown you that you can do this with 2 ingredients in 10 days or less, depending on the conditions. So it's not that you have to reinvest a whole lot of time or a whole lot of money in starting over. But something I do want to call to your attention is that if you do, are we back to me? Oh, I was motioning for you to come back to me. I thought we were still overhead. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. If you do see any pink mold in there, then you're going to want to get rid of it. So if you do see dark mold, and when I say dark mold, I don't mean like that dark hooch. I mean like spores growing, dark or green, or even a yellow or a fuzzy cream color, or the pink. And if that happens, then that could be a good indicator that you might have mold in your kitchen somewhere else, because I have seen several people that no matter how many times they start a starter, they end up getting mold pretty fast in their starter. Now, if you develop mold after the 9 to 14 day point, it could just be that something has gone awry. But if you haven't started your starter and pretty quickly you end up with some mold spores, that could be a good sign of other issues in your house or your kitchen. So as Tanner said, this is a very good indicator that if you got mold or not in your house, because it will tend to show up. So we'll continue to discard and feed Waylon. We're a little sad about Willie, but we may make a Willie Jr. from Waylon. It just depends. I still have Phyllis, so I really don't need 3 starters, just to be honest with you. But let's talk a little bit about cooking schedule. I alluded to this in the beginning, but I think we're now at the point that we can actually talk about that. Once you've reached that 14-day point and you're still fermenting after your feeding, you just need to decide how often you want to cook with it. And if you want to cook with it multiple times a week, as long as it stays relatively cool, or you have a cool place in the summer that you can keep it, like that's not your refrigerator, like if you, wherever you keep your onions and your potatoes, for instance, like a cool, dry place that you could keep this out, then you could continue to feed it every day or every other day and be able to discard and use it at your leisure. You can use it whenever you feed and it comes to peak and have the full peak baking, or you can make a discard recipe if you discard and you feed. So that's if you want to bake, you know, several times a week. If you're like me and you have a pretty busy life where you have 1 or 2 jobs and other than baking bread, then it's totally fine to store this in the refrigerator. Just finger tight, just with the lid, just like you do, or with cheesecloth, or like a flour sack towel is fine. Fixed on the top, you can just keep it in the fridge. And then take it out, ideally the day before you want to bake with it. Set it on the counter, let it come to room temperature, and then you can discard off whatever you want to do to cook with. A lot of times, and I'll grab Phyllis real quick and show you her. So I got Phyllis out the other night to give away some starter, and so I fed her and I left her out, and within like an hour she had doubled in size. So this is after roughly about 2 days in the fridge, and she's still very active. That's where she was on that line, and she's still above it. So even cooled like this, they are still very active. And 9 times out of 10, when you set them on the counter just to come to room temperature, whether if you haven't fed it, it'll still rise even more, and you can bake at peak. Or you can feed it to kind of speed things up, and as it eats, when it comes to room temperature, it'll double and you can use it. You can either cook with it or you can pour it off and give it to somebody as a gift. A good established starter is a very good gift. It reminds me of traditional food gifting that we do when people are sick, or when they have a baby, or, you know, when somebody's loved ones dies. So starter is a good heirloom thing, and especially if you make it, you're giving a piece of your home to somebody else. If I got a question.
Miss Day 1, do I use a 14-day plan or the 15?
You're going to use the plan that your starter decides. So I'm guessing you said you missed day 1. So have you made your starter at all, or are you in like day 8? Is that what you're saying? I'll wait on you to clarify, but if you've not made your starter yet, you're going to want to discard and feed until it bubbles up and fully ferments. And if that takes more than 14 days, you're good to cook with it. If it's less than 14 days, you're still going to want to discard and feed and not cook with it until you hit the 14-day point. I hope that's what you were asking. So if not, just clarify in the comments. But as far as your cooking schedule, you can totally store it in the fridge if you only want to cook once a week or so, and then take it out. Like for me, I like to bake on Saturday or Sunday. So Friday morning before I leave from work, I'll take Phyllis out of the fridge and set her on the counter. Then when I get home, I'll see what she's done and either decide if I'm going to bake with her on Saturday morning or if I'm going to feed her, just depending on her needs. If she bubbles up, then I can just simply discard and cook with her. If she doesn't bubble up, if she still stays kind of flat or similar to what her line is, I'll put a new line on her. Then I'll feed her and let her sit overnight and then cook with her on Saturday morning. So that's kind of where we are.
Just missed day 1.
Just missed day 1. Day 1 really is been not a whole lot different than these other days. We just, day 1, all we did is we just mixed up the flour and the water for the first time. We didn't discard. So every subsequent day after, if, like, say for instance, if your starter if you're on day 8 instead of 9, if your starter has bubbled up and doubled, then you're probably good, but you need to wait until day 14, which for you would probably be Wednesday of next week instead of Tuesday, before you use that discard in any recipes. I hope that clarifies. If not, you're welcome to put something else in the comments, and I'll come back to it after we're done if we don't get to it before. But this is, if you've made starter with me, I hope you see what a grand and glorious thing this is. We have taken water and unbleached flour, and we have made a living thing that you can use in place of baker's yeast, and you can use it in all kind of things. So if you're at this point and you're fully fermented and you're just waiting until that 14-day mark, whenever that is for you, do some research, find you some recipes to look forward to, and decide on a baking schedule. What we'll probably do is next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the one after, we'll probably get with you and we'll do a live one Saturday morning, and I'll show you how I use mine, and then I'll come back and show a picture of what we made that day. But just how we take it out and we feed it, and then we use the discard off of it. Because there are a ton of resources, there are a ton of recipes, there are a ton of instructions on how to just make the starter. But sometimes things can get overcomplicated, and I hope that if we've done nothing else, we've done 2 things. We have made it not so complicated, and we have taught you that you are capable of more than you probably thought you were 9 days ago. So this has been great fun. I'm going to miss going live with you guys every night, but from time to time we'll still pop in. We would sure appreciate it if you would share this video and go back and share the other 8 videos as well, so that we can pass the sourdough love and show people how they can create something really miraculous in their own home, just like you and I have done. Always, if you haven't already, head over to thebutteredhome.com and sign up for our VIP email list. We send all of our new recipes to all of our VIP email members first. And like I alluded to last night, if you were part of the Facebook apocalypse yesterday where everybody lost their Facebook, if that were to happen and be a permanent thing, then you could rest assured that you would still always be in contact with me and you wouldn't miss a thing. So make sure you head over there and do that. And as always, Danny and I sure thank y'all for watching. It means a great deal that y'all have all been as excited about this as I have. And we look forward, now that we have this wonderful space to be able to do this kind of thing in, to brainstorm and lots of new ideas to share with you on how to do things in your own home and in your own kitchen. And from the Buttered, here, both of us at the Buttered Home to your home, we sure love y'all. Bye.